Hello everyone, you are watching another episode of Military Advance.
Submarines are a strategic weapon for the navy of a country. Its existence is always far from publicity, and the crew of the submarine is sure to carry out every mission in silence. Talking about submarines, there are interesting things that I will discuss this time. There is one part of the submarine that is highly guarded secrecy. That part is the propeller. If we pay attention, when a submarine is on land, for example, it is in the process of being repaired or at the launch of a new submarine. This part of the propeller is always closed tightly, wrapped with cloth or other coverings. Then, why was this done? How important is it to maintain the secrecy of a submarine's propeller? Before I proceed to the topic of discussion, for more details, please pay attention to watch this video. When the mass media covered the submarine torpedo, the propeller was also hidden. I realized this when I watched the coverage of submarine torpedoes in several military media on YouTube. Well, on this occasion, I will explain the reason why the shape of the submarine's propeller and the torpedo is kept secret. The answer to the question is, so that the submarine is not easily detected by the enemy. Because if the enemy knows the shape of the submarine's propeller, then the enemy will easily detect the presence of the submarine in the ocean, just by looking at the shape of the propeller. In the world of submarines and torpedoes, the propeller is called a screw. The propellers are used as propulsion for submarines as well as torpedoes, the rotation of these propellers propelling them both. The shape of this propeller is very diverse. There are large and small diameters. Small propellers must rotate faster, in order to produce the same thrust as large propellers. In addition to size, blades on these propellers also vary. There are 3 blades with a wide size, or blades with a slim shape, with a large number. Each form of the propeller has its own weaknesses and advantages in terms of performance and thrust. To produce thrust, each type of propeller requires a different rotational speed. To detect submarines, you cannot use radar, because radar waves will be absorbed by seawater. To detect the submarine must use sound waves, namely using sonar. Because sound waves themselves propagate very well in water. Sonar used to detect submarines is active sonar and passive sonar. However, if you use active sonar, it will actually tell the enemy the position of the ship that emits the sonar. Therefore, to detect enemy submarines, it is safer to use passive sonar, namely by listening to the sound of enemy submarines. If the enemy knows the shape and type of the submarine's propeller, then the enemy can estimate the rotational speed of the propeller. By knowing the shape and speed of rotation of the propeller, the enemy can calculate the resulting frequency. So they will use their passive sonar device to focus on detecting sound in that frequency range. And that way, the enemy can detect the presence and position of the submarine. Therefore, the shape of the screw alias propeller on submarines and torpedoes is very secret. Moreover, when the submarine is on land and will be launched from the shipyard,